Warning: some contents may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. The dark web. It's just like that old saying. You know the one, how does it go? Curiosity killed the cat? And just like that cat, I am wishing that I just left it well alone. It started out like any careless whim. It had all the ingredients required for a terrible decision. I was alone, it was a Friday night, and I was bored, but more importantly, I was high. When you are high and by yourself, well, when I am high and by myself, I tend to venture down the rabbit hole. With a joint in one hand and a phone in the other, I indulge the darkest parts of my imagination. Horror, mysteries, paranormal encounters, all of it. One article leads to two, and two leads to four, and before you know it, you are knee-deep within the Dyatlov Pass incident. This night was different, however. I knew it the moment that I clicked onto an article about the dark web. This is interesting. Unlicensed gambling, crime, drugs, and mystery, urban legend, depravity, darkness, and insanity. Oh, this is me. And like the high idiot that I am, without a second thought, I had relocated from my bed and switched on my computer. I still remember the intrigue that coursed through my mind as I rolled another joint and downloaded Tor. What would I find? What mystery could I lose myself in? Where would this journey take me? Looking back now, I wish I had gotten off at the first stop, but I did not. I scrolled for minutes, hours maybe. Between drags I explored, and between plumes of smoke I savored. There was conspiracy, there was mystery, but more interestingly, there was possibility. And there it is, a question incarnate. Where am I? The title of the page was less than imaginative, but it drew in me nonetheless, and with a single click it began. I half expected a page to load, but instead, as soon as I had clicked the link, my phone vibrated. Confused, I quickly turned and checked the message. The phone number did not make sense. It was 6 digits, a mess of numbers, letters, and special characters, not a configuration that I had seen before. The body of the message did not contain any text, only a link sharing a location. Curious, I, of course, clicked the link. Looking back now, I do not know what I had expected. I mean, I was stoned, but still. I had expected anything but what I did receive. It's the middle of the ocean? My mindset was less than sober, so I done what any intoxicated person would do. I laughed, ignored the message, and shortly after, I fell asleep. If only I had taken it seriously. The next day when I awoke, I had already received another. This time, the location was a beach, at least 400 miles from here. The day after that, another, and this one was closer, an interstate, probably 200 miles from me. The third day came another, and the day following that, another, just the same as before. Each of the messages was different, but each had one key similarity. With each passing day and with each passing message, the location seemed to be getting closer to me. And by the 5th day, the location was just outside of my town, and precisely 1 week after I had clicked that stupid link, the location was a few doors down on my street. That was the message that I received this morning. I do not know what is coming or what is going to happen, but all I know is that I wish I had left well alone. And as I wait for whatever is coming, for some reason, all I can think about is that cat. How did that old saying go? I consider myself sort of a veteran when it comes to scouring the deep web. I've been doing it for over 5 years at this point, and in all honesty, I can say that for the most part, it was pretty disappointing. It originally started out of curiosity. My life was routine up until that point. I had a well-paying but dull job, and I hadn't exactly had much success relationship-wise. Many of them had started out strong, but fizzled out by the 1-year point for some reason or the other. Not to say that I was unhappy or anything, just that I wasn't satisfied with how mundane everything was. I couldn't help but feel like I was wasting my potential, that there was something big waiting for me out there. I know it might sound childish, but I still hope that I might actually turn out to be somebody, like a famous musician or an inventor, just someone, anything important. But given that I had no real talent or the like that might help me achieve that dream, I turned to the dark web. That might sound strange, but it wasn't so much as I was hoping to find something on there as I was sort of just hoping to escape the blandness of my life. I guess we all have our escapist fantasies, video games, movies, television, and so on. But for me, it was the deep web. It was exciting at first, but over time, even my activities there began to bore me. As it turns out, there really isn't anything all that interesting in the deep web. There were lots of sites selling drugs, but I had no use for them. Most other things were scams, The send me some Bitcoin and I'll send you twice as much back sort of stuff. Occasionally, I would find something that seemed genuinely creepy, but a little digging would always reveal that it was just a hoax. After 5 years of this, I was about ready to give up on my escapades on the dark web. I hadn't really had much success in real life either. Don't get me wrong, I was moderately good at my job and financially well off. But that dream of really achieving something significant was out of my reach as always. That was until that day. I saw a post on a forum that I frequented. It had a few like-minded people looking for anything strange or eccentric on the deep web. Someone had posted a link to a page stating that it sounded fake, but admitted that it was one of the weirdest things that they had encountered. Given the account was over 7 years old, and according to their profile, they had been in the game for over 10 years. This was no small claim. The webpage itself was simple, the kind you would encounter in the early 2000s. A little reading told me that it was a religious group dedicated to a deity known as XXXXXXX. I'm not writing it that way to protect you or anything. No, I wrote it that way because I quite literally couldn't read it. The name was written in letters that I didn't even recognize, and though I've tried looking up other alphabets online, I still can't find any language with letters that even remotely resemble the ones I saw. The basic premise of the religion was that this god, XXXXXXX, was an all-powerful entity that lived in a dimension parallel to ours, but would one day find a way to manifest itself on Earth. It all did seem like an elaborate prank someone set up. But then I saw how many members the cult supposedly had. Over 10,000? That couldn't possibly be real, and they must have been fudging their numbers. Or so I thought. Anyway, I did click on a few more links on the site, but all of the other information was blocked for people who were not members. Except for one. It was a page that had writing about someone called the Prophet. According to the site, this person would herald the arrival of XXXXXXX one day, but had no further details. The Prophet would be reborn over and over again until their God manifested, and the cult was dedicated to finding this person. And it was then that I read something that sent a chill down my spine. They had a description of the person who was supposed to be a reincarnation of the Prophet. I won't write down the details here for obvious reasons, or post a link to their site either for that matter, but the description matched me. The description wasn't vague enough that it could have been written off as describing anyone. It had my height on there, and also my birthday and month. Though it did not mention the exact year, but instead the decade when I was born. It said that the Prophet's profession would involve handling money. I was an accountant. It also said that the Prophet would be unmarried and was a man. And not only that, it described a birthmark that I had. It had to be a coincidence, right? That's what I told myself. I mean, there must have been dozens of people who matched that kind of description, right? Or had the people who made this site made it specifically to describe me? It couldn't be. I scoured posts in both the normal and deep web looking for more information on this group, but practically no one seemed to have heard of them before. Those who had just told me what I already knew. I did learn that the description of the Prophet was the same for nearly everyone though, meaning these people hadn't hacked my webcam or something, and it was a bit reassuring when I did a little fact-checking and realized that there must have been tens of thousands of people who matched the description that they had written down. But still, some uneasiness remained, and eventually I felt that I had to get my hands on some more information. And while not the brightest idea I had, I decided to get it the only way I knew how, by joining them. The initiation procedure involved a ritual that had to be done on the night of a full moon. I won't go into any more details on what is involved, other than there was a sacrifice of my own blood. One misconception many of you might have is that it's possible to stream videos on the deep web, and there are some sites selling access to streams where people are tortured and other things such as that. It isn't possible to stream on Tor. However, given how slow it is to access even normal web pages. As such, this group wanted each new member to film themselves completing the initiation ritual and send a copy to their leader. I did it wearing a mask, of course. As a matter of fact, the site even recommended everyone doing so to hide their identities. I also stripped the video of any metadata and watched it thrice before sending it over to make sure that I didn't leave anything that could be traced back to me. And I got a message back with an audio recording that I was to play to finish my initiation. The words sounded garbled and didn't resemble any language that I've ever heard of. They instead sounded more like a bunch of animal growls than spoken words. Somehow, even though I hadn't understood a lick of it, it triggered something inside of me. It was like as if a switch inside my head had been flipped on and several circuits in my brain activated. The name of XXXXXXX was now clear to me. I didn't know how I could read it, just that I could. There's no point in me trying to write it down. I couldn't even if I tried, and I think it wouldn't make sense to anyone else. It didn't end there though. Memories I didn't know I had came rushing to me. Memories of countless past lives that I had lived. I saw the pyramids of Egypt being built. I had been a member of Caesar's legions when he invaded Gaul. I saw myself landing on the beaches of Normandy. And there were countless others to which I couldn't give a modern-day name. Nearly all of these times, I had discovered this religious cult, and I had joined it countless times. But there was something that this group had been hiding from me, and I knew why. The prophet would become a vessel for bringing XXXXXXX into this world, but that was after sacrificing himself. In short, I was a lamb for slaughter. I knew this from my memories and browsing parts of that webpage that I now had access to confirm the fact. I immediately logged off and vowed never to go on that site again. But my nightmare wasn't over. Later that night, I had a dream more vivid than any that I have ever had before. And I saw him, or rather, it. I saw XXXXXXX. Even if I had the space of an entire book, I still probably couldn't do what I saw justice. I saw nearly every single kind of horror. Werewolves, vampires, skinwalkers, demons, and many more melded together into a giant body that completely spanned the horizon. Though it had no real eyes, or rather millions of eyes all looking in different directions, I could still somehow feel it focusing its gaze directly at me. None of the individual mouths opened up, but it still spoke with an impossibly loud voice directly into my mind.
My prophet, you know your destiny.
It showed me a vision of me lying tied to a table surrounded by people in black hoods. One of them took out a knife and slit my throat, and I watched myself die. As the light left my eyes, they began to turn pitch black and my body levitates off of the table. A voice that wasn't mine left my mouth as dark tendrils began to form around me. This was what was going to happen to me. I wouldn't end up dying as a sacrifice. I would be possessed by this monster. I'll spare you the details of what I saw afterward. Let's just say that XXXXXXX is not a merciful God. Most of humanity would be wiped out, and with what happened to the survivors, let's just say that a swift death was a far kinder fate. "No!" I screamed. "I won't let this happen." The thing was that I knew that I had to be sacrificed in a specific way to manifest him. If I managed to avoid the religious cult that I had inadvertently joined, or if I killed myself another way, his plan would be foiled. At least for now, it would be.
Think about it. Your death will be easy, almost painless. Submit yourself as a sacrifice to me. You have wanted to be special your whole life, have you not? You will attain godhood through this action, and I will live through your flesh.
Godhood? More like demonhood! I screamed back and awoke in a cold sweat. I knew though that it wasn't just a dream. I also knew that the cult could probably also communicate with XXXXXXX in some way, and it was still a possibility that they might be able to track me despite the precautions I had taken. I couldn't let that happen. I went ahead and destroyed my old computer. I moved to another country and cut all ties with everyone that I was close with. It's been 2 years up till now, and they haven't found me yet. Hopefully, they won't. But it isn't them that I'm scared of. It's XXXXXXX. There is no way for me to unlearn what I know now. It visits me in my dreams every single night. Initially, it tried to appeal to my ego, of my desire to one day accomplish something great or to be special. This was my chance, it said, a chance to be the chosen one, or the protagonist, or what have you in the world. I had certainly wanted to be important all my life, but not in this way. When this failed, it tried another tactic. It told me that even if I didn't submit in this lifetime, I would just be reborn over and over again. Eventually, this God would manifest in our world. It was better, it said, for me to submit willingly now so that it might be a bit more lenient to the rest of humanity. When this failed, it told me that when it did manifest, it would have limitless power and would bring forth every single past version of myself into this reality at once, and as punishment would subject every single version of me to torture worse than any human on this planet has ever experienced. I don't know if that's true or even possible, given what I know of reincarnation. Could I really be brought back if I was already born into another body? I had no idea what the capabilities of that monster were. Then again, I can't be sure that anything that it's told me is the truth. I highly doubt it would be any more merciful in the world, even if I submitted. But night after night of a God screaming into your head, you begin to seriously doubt yourself. There are 2 quick ways that this could end. One is that I take the revolver I keep and put a bullet between my eyes. The second is to give into XXXXXXX access the cult webpage and tell them where I am. I don't have a death wish, so neither option seems appealing. Life might not be perfect, but I certainly value what I have too much to end it all right now. The third thing is to endure this, but I don't think I can do that on my own. That's why I've turned to you, kind strangers on the internet. I'm sure many of you won't believe me, but I desperately need your help. Please, don't try to find me. I made sure you can't track me down. I can't be sure none of you aren't members of that cult, or that you won't come to hunt me down to save yourselves. What I need, kind strangers, is reassurance that I need to endure and withstand the taunts of this monster. After all, you all do have a vested interest in this as well. I can tell you that what XXXXXXX wants to do with humanity is nothing you would wish upon even on your worst enemies. So please, convince me that I can withstand it. Tell me counter-arguments against what it has told me, because I don't know how much longer I can hold out like this.
So, I guess I should start off by explaining myself. I know what you might be asking right now. Why would you buy a Nintendo Switch on the dark web? They're sold literally everywhere else. Look, here's the thing. I don't make that much money at my job. Certainly not enough to afford something that expensive with all the bills I need to pay. So, I decided to look for buying one secondhand. I dug around the internet, looking at multiple ads on eBay and Craigslist, but I still couldn't find any under $200 like I was hoping for. I was about to give up and just wait, try to save up where I could and hope that I'd have enough for the damn thing by next year. When out of the blue, my friend Matt finally responded to a text I'd sent him earlier. See, he'd gotten himself a Switch for dirt cheap and he said it worked like new. So I was hoping he'd tell me who or where he'd bought it from. And now, in my inbox, was a link to a website with only 2 words as any sort of description about its content. It simply read, "This guy." I tapped the link and I was brought onto a website that seemed like any other auction site with people trying to get rid of their crap. But there was one thing about this website that was a little bit different. It was run by one guy. One guy with about 1,000 auctions going on at once for all sorts of different electronic products. There was one other thing that sort of set off my warning bells. Each one of the electronic devices on the website had the auction starting at just 1 penny, with the bids stopping at around $20 or a little more. And all of this stuff, it looked brand new. Now, while I had my suspicions about all of this, I was still desperate to get my hands on a Switch. So, I looked and found over 100 auctions going at once, all for the same type of console, the only difference appearing to be the colour. I tapped on one of the auctions with a particularly pretty looking Switch with a snowy forest skin, and I started to bid, going up cent by cent, like everyone else. Finally, after about 30 minutes of this race, the bidding ended with me and my offering price of exactly $24.86. A notice popped up on my screen with a little dancing money bag and big bold letters reading, "Congratulations! Your item will arrive within the next 24 hours. Once again, I did find this strange, since I hadn't even put in my address or anything. End of the day, I just brushed it off as the site may be retrieving my location from my phone, which is a feature we all typically keep turned off. Personally though, I never bothered with it. I let out a rather loud yawn and realised just how late it was. I needed sleep, so I shut off my phone, content to just lay down in my bed and let sleep overtake me. After about 3 hours, I knew that sleep was not going to come. I wasn't sure why I couldn't manage it, but I was tossing and turning and looking at my phone. I guess I was rather excited. It was really weird to me since I hadn't been that excited since I was little, waiting for Christmas Eve so I could go into my parents' room and jump on their bed until they woke up to open presents in the morning. It had been years since those times, mind you, at least a decade if not a little longer. So I was more than a little bit confused. By the time the sun had risen, I was still wide awake, now sitting at my table drinking a cup of coffee. I was practically bouncing up and down in my chair, just waiting for that doorbell to ring. My lack of sleep and energy being damned by my excitement. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door, followed by several pressings of my obnoxiously loud doorbell before I'd gotten there to answer it. Some tired-looking kid had a package in his hands, and before he even got a word out of it, I'd grabbed it and slammed the door in his face. That was rude, I understand, but I was really enthusiastic, hoping that this was my new toy. I ran to my bedroom, slammed the door, and drew the shutters closed so the room was completely dark, with only the flashlight from my phone giving off any illumination. I tore open the box and let out a squeal when I saw my brand new Nintendo Switch with its snowy forest skin wrapped up in plastic. I tore apart the thin layer of clear packing material, keeping me from my newest possession. I ran my fingers across the console, pressing buttons and fiddling with the joysticks. As I caressed my new toy, I noticed something else in the box that I hadn't at first, due to my over-eager wish to mess around with my new system. It was a brand new copy of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The way I could tell it was brand new was the fact that the game still had its fresh from the store plastic outer shell, just waiting to be broken. I felt my face break out into a grin and tore away the plastic, opening the case and taking off the cartridge to admire it. I could never afford video games brand new either, so this was kind of like the luckiest day of my life. I put in the game and turned on my Switch. God, I loved calling it that. My Switch. And started playing. It took me a bit to memorize the controls, but once I got into it, it was easier than breathing. I went through stage after stage, battling character after character. Things seemed to become little more than a flurry, with the characters becoming blurs as their movements got faster and faster. Now, I didn't know too much about this game to begin with, but I was still pretty sure this wasn't part of its mechanics. Even so, my eyes were glued to the screen, and I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. Not until I had beaten that game completely and won. Yes, I felt as though I were on the precipice of glory, so close to winning that Ted? My eyes moved away from the screen for 1 second for me to see my friend Nate in my doorway. Confused expression written clear on his face. He turned on my light, and I winced at just how bright it was.
Dude, do you have any idea how worried we've all been?
He demanded. I shrugged, confused. What are you talking about?
I've been calling you all day, man.
He exclaimed.
First you didn't show up for your shift, then you didn't answer my texts or calls, which, by the way, I've sent over 40. And now, I come to your house, find your front door unlocked, to come inside and find all the lights are off, and get in here expecting to see you dead or something, and I find you here playing some stupid-ass game. What the hell?
I frowned, my brow furrowing. All day? What time is it? Nate looked at me a little freaked out as he told me.
It's 2:30, Ted.
I shrugged. So, that isn't that...
It's 2:30 in the morning, dude.
Nate interjected. I paused, my eyes widening as I looked at my closed shutters. I jumped out of bed, tossing my Switch onto it as I opened the blinds and saw it was pitch black outside. But how? How could this be happening when I hadn't even been playing on my Switch for even an hour? At least, it had seemed like an hour to me. I shook my head in disbelief, trying to come up with some reasonable explanation as to how I'd let an entire day go by without even noticing. I haven't even... But nothing that could even remotely be considered coherent was coming out of my mouth. Nate gestured to my Switch.
Where the hell did you even get that, Ted? You're having enough trouble paying bills already. How could you afford a custom Nintendo Switch?
I just shrugged at this. I got it from some guy's website that Matt bought his off, and he spent like $25 on it, and it came with a brand new game. Nate just rolled his eyes and shoved his hands in his pockets.
Whatever. Boss says that if you don't show up on Monday right on time, then you're fired. See ya.
He shut the door and I rolled my eyes, flopping on my bed, and staring at my beautiful Nintendo Switch. Nate was just jealous. Jealous that he didn't have one. So what if I'd missed a day at work? Lots of people who play video games lost track of time sometimes. And there had probably been days back in college when Nate and I missed classes because we got wrapped up in a video game. That had been a while back though, so memories were still hazy. Even so, I was sure it wasn't that big a deal. Not really. I decided to switch off my lights again and pick up my Switch so I could start playing my game again. And I mean again, because I hadn't saved my progress. So, I had to start all the way back at the beginning. But as quickly as before, I fell back into my rhythm, and it didn't take me long to get back to where I was. I was making great time on this, so I figured it hadn't been more than a few hours. I decided to call Matt during a round and found I was actually really good at playing one-handed.
Hey dude, what's up?
Matt's voice answered on the third ring. I set my phone down and I put it on speaker. I'm playing with my new Switch. Your guy is a freaking god, dude. This thing is amazing.
Told ya. I've been playing on mine since this afternoon. How long you been playing?
He asked. I shrugged instinctively. I don't know, few hours give or take. You? He paused for a moment before responding.
The same as you, I guess. I haven't really been looking at the clock.
I laughed. Me neither. Guess it's just like in college, huh? Us getting sucked into a game with Nate and losing all track of time. I heard Matt chuckle.
Man, those were some good times. Well, anyway, I'll give you a call tomorrow. Let me know how far you get in your game.
Will do. And with that, it was just me and my Switch. Alone. Again. And I was actually pretty grateful for the silence. I'd thought I wanted to talk with Matt a little more, but I guessed I'd been wrong. As levels blurred into more levels, I started getting more and more immersed in the game, not paying any attention to anything else. My phone was going off not too much later, so I decided I may as well answer it, figuring maybe it was Matt changing his mind. I didn't bother taking my eyes off my Switch screen though, using my chin to push the answer call button. Yo, you've got the Tedmeister.
Dude, where the hell are you?
I was a little bit shocked to hear Nate's voice over the other end of the line this time. Much more so, to hear him sounding so annoyed. What are you talking about? I'm at home. It's like 5 in the morning or something.
No, it's not. It is 9 in the morning, Ted. And you were supposed to show up for your shift over an hour ago.
Said Nate, his voice rather cold. I frowned. Wait, what do you mean show up for my shift? I'm not coming in until Monday, Nate.
It is Monday, Ted. Actually, it's been a week past the damn Monday when I told you that you needed to show up or the boss was gonna fire you. I've been trying to get a hold of you for days.
My heart dropped into my stomach, but I still didn't stop playing my game. That's impossible. I've only been playing on my Switch for a few hours.
Dude, I thought about stopping by your place to check on you at least 50 times in the past week. But I didn't want to go inside because, well, I figured you were wasting time on that damn Switch again.
He scoffed.
And if you're telling me that you haven't checked the time in the past 9 days because you've been holed up yourself in your damn room...
He took in a deep breath and let it out through his nostrils.
You're full of shit. You know that? Really full of shit. You haven't changed since college at all. And now instead of Xbox, it's your damn Switch.
Nate, I managed out, my voice breaking. I haven't stopped playing my Switch at all. I heard him scoff again.
Bullshit.
I gulped. No, dude, I'm being straight with you. I haven't taken any breaks. I started playing a little after you left and I haven't stopped.
Right.
Nate muttered.
Let's say I actually believed you and your stupid lie that a kindergartner could see through. What are you going to tell me next? You haven't eaten or gone to the bathroom?
I paused at this point, my mind reeling as my eyes were glued to my game. Had I eaten anything? Had I gone to the bathroom? I couldn't remember if I had. Nate, I said, my voice breaking. I'm scared. I could practically hear his eyes roll.
Right, sure. Look, just put down the game and go to the bathroom, man. You probably reek if you've been playing that thing and can't even remember the last time you showered.
I nodded. Okay, I'll do that. I tried to put the switch down, but nothing happened. I physically couldn't do it. Nate, I can't let go. Seriously, man, I can't. Nate scoffed for like the millionth time.
Right. Whatever game you and Matt are playing, it isn't funny.
Matt? What are you talking about? I demanded.
Like you don't know. He hasn't shown up to work in almost a month,
said Nate.
Look, when you decide to start acting seriously, give me a call. But until then, I don't want to talk to you.
And that was it. He hung up. I tried repeatedly to take my hands off this damn switch, or turn it off, but it didn't work. I walked to my light switch, and I flipped it up with my head, and then I saw what was on my hands. Long, purple-blue strands that looked like veins, sprouting from the sides of my switch and embedding themselves into my forearms. I decided to call Matt. Maybe he knew what was going on. He didn't respond, and now I was getting more and more worried. My phone. I knew it wouldn't be much longer until it died, as it typically lasted about 2 weeks if I didn't use it at all, but I was sure it was close to death. I needed to get help. I tried to call everyone on my contacts list, but I got nothing but voicemail boxes. I don't have many contacts, and I'm pretty sure Nate spread the word to all of my other friends about my switch. It's been, I don't know how long now, and I still can't take my eyes off the game. I can't take my hands off it. I'm not even sure how I'm still alive. My last hope is this, and I've been using voice record to have this done. Please, if you have any idea about what I can do to fix this, help me. I'm desperate.
And here are the top comments for my last video. And here's the riddle for this video. Hello everyone, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But I would also like to thank my amazing patrons, my top tippers, and my dearest channel members. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it with all of my heart. If you want to support the channel further, you could also choose to become a patron, a tipper, or a channel member. But remember, it's appreciated, but never a requirement. I would also like to announce that we have merch now. The link is in the description of the video, along with all my other social media links, like my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, and others. You can connect with me and send your stories there. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and comments are highly appreciated. And remember, your fear feeds me.